Hi, I'm Kelly, and I am the mom of two special needs kids. My oldest is 22. In fourth grade, she was diagnosed with autism, an intellectual disability, and a few other things. My youngest is 15, and he is twice exceptional. And what that means is that he has ADHD, some sensory, additional few other things, and he's gifted. And so, my purpose of this video is I want to talk about something I don't think it's highlighted enough. I don't think we look at things from the parent's perspective enough. And sometimes when parents try to express how they're feeling, what they're going through, we tend to get the short end of the stick. You're not doing enough. You're not trying hard enough. You're doing everything wrong. You need to listen to us. We're the experts. And as a special needs mom, or a mom of a special needs kid, I hated that. I hated that so bad. Because quite frankly, I don't care how many degrees you have, you are not an expert on my kid. I am. And I got real tired of being told that. I knew my kid better than anybody else did. And part of that is because I took time to listen and I thought outside the box. And as a parent, we feel alone. We feel unheard. We feel unsupported. We get a lot of criticism. We get talked down. We get told what we're doing wrong. But no one ever stops to say, I get it. I'm here to help. No one's ever honest with us. You know how many times I went to the school to pick up my daughter and I get told, oh, yeah, had a great day. And I knew better. It was just literally placating me. It was being passive about what I already knew. I knew my daughter better than anybody. And I knew that there were days that, yeah, my daughter had some good days, but a lot of times she didn't. And I resented that. I resented that as a mom because I could not trust, because that's so that I couldn't trust these so-called experts if they couldn't be honest with me. And that's not what I wanted to hear anyways. And then I hear things from people who, other parents, making comments about their kids. And that hurt. To give you an example, I was in MOPS, and this was either before my son was born, during my pregnancy, or after. I don't remember which, but my daughter was young enough at the time. And while we didn't have the extremity of the difficulties that we had after that occurred in fourth grade, we still had some problems here and there at that time. And I remember sitting at my table, and I remember sitting there listening to these moms talk. Now, to them, their problems were problems, and it bothered them, and I respect that. But the thing was, I sat there and listened to them either complain that their little one was at that stage where, why, what, when, you know, if you know what stage I'm talking about, you know how the 20 question game comes along. There was one that was also talking about how their little one's starting to find their spirit, and they were mouthing off a little bit. They didn't like it. It bothered them a little bit. And I listened to these moms talk back and forth. And I tried really hard to be understanding. I tried really hard to see it from their view. I mean, after all, I was mom of a kid, right? I had to have a child in order to be a MOPS. But the truth of and reality of the matter was I didn't. These moms talked openly and candidly to each other while I sat there quietly and I didn't have anything to say. And they tossed around, asking for a little advice here and there, and trying to get input. And I remember sitting there listening. And then finally it kind of gets quiet, and I found a chance to talk. And I interjected. I offered my 2 cents. I offered a different perspective. I remember sitting there and I said, I realize that it's may not mean much because, my situation is different, but if I could, I wish I could switch places with you. I wish I could switch places with you. And they both kind of looked at me like, what? Why? Why would you want to do that? And then, of course, came the idea of, well, okay, if you think you can handle it. It was that kind of, we all did it. We've all done it. But one of them asked me why. And my response was, I would have given anything to hear my daughter do that at that age. I didn't get her first words. My daughter didn't start talking until she was 4.5, almost 5. I would have loved to hear her ask me the 20 questions or start getting a little mouthy because she was exploring and finding her voice. I got the mouthiness when she got older, like any teenager. But at that point, I said I would have loved to be able to have experienced that with my daughter. But I didn't get it. I got robbed. I said, I sit here and I've listened to you guys talk, and some of you are talking about potty training. I was dealing with a child who was screaming in pain because the sound of a toilet was painful to her. Potty training was difficult for a whole different reason. See, I didn't get first words. What I got was, there's something wasn't right. My daughter's not talking. Why isn't she talking? What I got was screaming in pain every time the toilet flushed. I had to help her teach her how to go potty in the bathroom, and then walk her out of the bathroom, make sure she was safe, go back, shut the door, and flush the toilet. That's what I had to do. I had to worry about her getting out of the apartment that we were living in, or at that point, the house, and taking off. Now, by the time we moved over to our house, which is when I was in MOPS, she was potty trained. She was already in elementary school, actually. But those early years, being a mom of a special needs kid, it's hard. You feel alone. Nobody understands. Nobody wants to understand. They don't get it. I got judged. I got criticized because, she didn't look a certain way, or my house was a mess. Well, the reason why my house was a mess at that time was because I was too busy trying to keep my daughter safe. Couldn't play games with her, couldn't play toys with her. A lot of times I couldn't even touch her unless she had a long sleeve shirt on, because touch was painful. Couldn't put her down for a nap because I actually had to hold her. She needed the squeeze, that tightness of pressure being in my arms to go to sleep. So I would have to wrap her in my arm, put her in a blanket, lay her down in bed, cover her with a blanket, and put my arm around her until she would fall asleep. And then I was stuck there because if I got up, she would wake up. No one understood. I was alone, and it was hard. I didn't have support. Of course, there were people who wanted to and tried, but we had a lot of people walk away from us. I remember when my daughter was in elementary school, she was struggling with regulation, and she had a meltdown with me. Nobody else but me. And her little friend had went home and told her mom. And the next day, when my daughter went to go play with that little girl, a little girl who she has played with up to that point for many, many times, even at school. It's not like they were, best new friends or whatever. They had plenty of friendship moments and hanging out and playing. This little girl came up to my daughter and said, "I'm sorry, I can't play with you anymore." And when my daughter asked why, this little girl's response was, "Because my mom is afraid that I'm going to catch whatever you have." Who says that? My daughter came home in tears, crying. I had to console her, and I could have gone over and confronted that mom, but it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it. I knew if I had tried, then I would have been speaking to a wall, because anybody who says something that horrible about a child isn't someone who's going to listen. Being a special needs parent is difficult. We want to be heard. We want to be loved. We want to know that we're not alone. And believe me when I say that I had a couple of great friends that lived near me. And if it wasn't for them, I would have been alone. I mean, I had my best friends, but each one lived at least an hour to 2 hours away. But in my area, someone I could go to and talk to, I had two friends who stood by me, who saw the bad and loved me through it anyways, and supported me. Being a special needs mom is hard. Being a special needs parent is hard. You don't know what to do. You don't know what route to go. And to make it worse, you have these so-called experts, both in school and specialists, telling you how you're doing things wrong, and you need to let them guide and take control. I learned quickly that their degrees meant nothing. Their degrees meant nothing. They weren't an expert. Sure, they learned some things, but what the problem was is their one-size-fits-all solution did not fit every problem, because not every problem was a one-size-fits-all problem. And so because of that thought process of theirs, they applied the same fix to everything and everyone. And sometimes it worked and sometimes it backfired. And when it backfired, they get up and walk out. They tell you your kid is too difficult. Your kid is out of control. Your kid is no, it's not the kid. It's you. It is you. We get lied to. We get told this or that. They tell us, well, this is what's best for them. No, it's not. It's not what's best for them. What's best for them is love and support and listening and encouragement. And what's best for them is when their parents get the same support and not talked down to, not threatened, not told they're wrong. It's hard being a special needs parent. It's downright difficult. We don't get breaks. We are going 24 hours a day, literally, because we never know what our child is going to get into, what's going to happen. I couldn't work outside the home for the longest time because I was always getting phone calls. You can come get your kid. You need to come get your kid. You need to come get your kid. And then they turn around and yell at me, well, why aren't they in school? Well, you called me and told me to come get them. If this is a problem, stop sending them home. Totally backwards. No support. See, when the experts mess up, it's the parents' fault. If the experts ever get something right, they're the ones who did it right, not the parents. Anytime something went wrong, it was the parents' fault. It was never their fault. It was never anybody else's fault. It was never just, this is the way it is. It was, you're doing something wrong. We need to know that we're supported. We need to know that we're loved and we are heard. Because in the end, we are their voices. For some of us, our kids don't have voices. So we are their voices. So if you're a special needs parent and you're seeing this, I want you to know right now, I see you. I hear you. I know you. I don't care what your child's disability is. I get it. And I understand. And you are not alone. You have a community of other parents just like you, just like me, who will help and be your cheerleader and be your support if you let us. But you're not alone. Stop listening to these experts telling you that you're doing things wrong. Stop listening to these experts telling you that you're not doing something right. You're doing everything you can. You're doing everything right. Do the best that you can. You love your child. You provide them with love. You're being patient. You're being understanding. You're doing everything right. I have one expert that told us that we weren't doing anything wrong. One. And that was a caseworker at a residential facility. One. So I just want you to know that I see you, I hear you, I know you, and my heart goes out to you. And if you ever need a friend, you ever need someone just to talk to, I'm here. I may not always have the answer, I may not always have the response, but I'll listen. Sometimes, really, as special needs parents, that's all we need. We just need someone to be quiet and listen. We don't always need an answer. We just need someone to listen. Lay it on me, babe. Unload. There's nothing you could say that would surprise me. If you know a special needs parent, listen to them, support them. Don't turn your back on them. They need you just as much as their kid needs them. They need you. They need to know that they're still an adult, they're still human, that they are still who they are. And if you don't have an answer, if you don't know what to say, that's okay. Give them a hug and just listen, because that's really all they need. And if you don't, but you come across somebody in the store, try listening instead of judging. Try being present and educating, understanding why. Because literally, you don't know what you don't know. But you got to educate yourself on what's going on. You got to understand what the disability is and why it does those things. Talk to the parent. Because really, the parent knows their kid better than anybody. And their experience with a disability may not be the same experience as the other person down the street who has a kid with the same disability. Experiences are different. They vary. But give them a chance. And don't teach your kids hurtful things like that, like what my daughter heard. And if you're blessed to have a healthy child that talks your ear off and says some things that probably shouldn't say, take it in stride, when they're little. Be grateful that they can talk and that you get to hear those words. Be grateful. Think about, yeah, I understand it's hard and I understand potty training can be difficult, but at least you have that. At least you're not dealing with a child who's screaming in agony because the sound of a flushing toilet is that painful to their ears. At least you have a little one who wants to go lay down and cuddle with you for a nap, and then you can get up and walk away. At least you have a kid who can talk and say words. Be grateful for the little things you have, because some of us don't even have that. So that's my message. That's what I want to share. Give your special needs parents a chance. And to you special needs parents, again, I say, I see you, I hear you, I know you. And if you need a hug, my door is always open. If you need an ear, my door is always open. Text me. Let's go have coffee. I will go have coffee with you. And you can unleash on me, because believe me, these shoulders are good for something. They're big and broad, so they're good for something. You got me this far. It's my turn to do it for you. I'm there for you. Bye, guys.